Today I'm going to attempt to rebuild my hinges while the door stays in place. Now usually the correct way to do it is to actually take the door off. Leave the hinges on the car and take the door off and rebuild the hinges on the A-pillar. That way it's going to be much easier to get your door back in place, adjusted correctly and closed properly. My scenario is I have power windows. That's a real hassle to take that door off and thread all the wiring through there. So this is a how-to video, but this might be a let's see if this works video. Regardless, in this video we're going to show you some different hinges, some rebuild techniques, some special tools for adjusting your door. So regardless whether I succeed at this or not, this is going to be a useful video for you that need to rebuild your hinges, adjust your door, replace hinges, etc. The longer you defer it, the more it's going to cost you. And believe it or not, ignoring these little bitty bushings could cost you $1,000. So I'm going to see if today, with my specialty hinge wrench and a little finesse, if we can take off these hinges, leaving the door on and the fender on. Of course, we're going to take them off one at a time. The only specialty tool you're going to need for this is a hinge wrench, like this. The problem is, these are obsolete. They don't use them on modern cars. So, eBay is your friend. But you'll find when you do a search on eBay for hinge wrench, you'll get a lot of variations. And I spent a couple months buying several different ones. Most of them are a no-go. Only certain ones will work. The biggest thing you need is this kind of angle and depth. If it is a flat profile like this, it's a no-go. So we're gonna show you which ones that work and which ones that don't. The majority of your bolts are going to come out of your hinges with a simple 1/2-inch socket, shallow like this, 12 or 6 point. You don't have to have a fancy ratchet like this, but it makes it a little bit easier. So let's go dig in. As always, let's disconnect the battery and not run the battery down while the door's open. In this instance, I'm just going to support the door with a floor jack. Wanted to reinforce, if you got nice paint, you really want to use some painter's tape. I really should have done it. Even though my paint's not nice, I should have taken the extra time. See where I chipped it right here? Oh well, too late now. Luckily this is not nice paint. I've loosened these top two bolts to get a little bit of a more angle here. I've taken the two outer bolts of the hinge out. Now it's the hardest bolt. But after the hardest bolt is loosened, it's actually one of the easier bolts because I've rotated this hinge. Don't need the specialty tool anymore. I can just use the common tool and get some nice movement with my ratchet in there. Okay, this was our goal. This is the tougher one, the bottom hinge. Now the real question is this a rebuildable hinge? Let's go find out. Okay, the first thing we need to do is get this hinge pin out. And it's a swedged pin, so we're going to need to use a Dremel tool or a little disc grinder to carefully get in here and burn off those swedges. Take your time here because you don't want to scar up your hinge or weaken it. Well, I did more than take off the swedges. I annihilated the pin. But that's okay because we don't care about the pin. We're not going to use it. We're going to replace the pin. The important thing is I didn't touch the hinge housing. Well, it looks like I've caught this one in time, whereas these bushings are really thin. They haven't gone all the way through, and the holes aren't ovaled out. Once the holes are ovaled out, you got to go a different way. Another tip, this is a low mile car, so this area right here, where the rollers run across, that can get so worn over the years that it can actually start to bite into the metal, and thus make this an ineffective way to keep your door open. So one trick I've learned is switch this with the passenger side, then you'll be wearing on the other side. You'll change them both over. We're going to leave this alone. Again, our holes are nice and round, but if they are ovaled out, don't try putting new bushings in. They'll fall apart right away. Nice tight fit there. That's what we're looking for. Now, a lot of you may be saying, why bother rebuild these? You can buy them brand new, cheap from China. Well, here it says right there, made in Taiwan, Republic of China. And it looks good. Boy, I put this next to an original, and the thicknesses look the same. The dimensions look the same. Trust me, you'll never get this to fit. You'll never get your door to line up. And once you do, it won't last long. The metal is not as strong on these. These are junk. We'll sell them to you. They're on our website. Don't try returning them though. Now here, if yours is completely blown out like this one, don't throw it away. We can do this to it. We can put an oversized pin in them, oversized bushings, and then they're greasable. This is going to last forever. The originals were designed to last 100,000 miles. If you kept them lubricated, you might get 150,000 miles out of them. This guy here should last forever. Put a little white lithium grease on there before we put them together. Much easier to get in these crevices now than later. On my 69, from the factory, it mounts on the car like this, and the pin goes up, and then we're swedged at the top. Well, I'm not going to swedge it. I'm not going to bead blast this and repaint it. Someday when I restore the car, we're going to go all the way with correct swedgings and trimming this pin to the right height. So this time, just so it doesn't work out, I'm going to put the pin to where gravity is my friend. Just slide it in there. And I'm not going to swedge it. I'm just going to set the spline shoulder so it doesn't work out. That's all I'm going to do this time around. Someday when I restore the car, it's going to look different. But for now, I'm fixing it. Now we got a nice tight hinge here. Let's go install it. When you reinstall your hinge, you might find it hard to put it back in, especially this first bolt in the middle. You'll be going blind. You can see these two bolts through the door jamb crack, but this one you're going blind. And to further complicate matters, this plate in which it bolts to on the other side, like this, floats a little bit. So when you've taken this off, you'll find this is dislodged. What I like to do, since it's so easy to remove this, remove it, and then you'll get a visual on where you're at. So you can be reaching over the door and getting that bolt started and see where you're at. Don't worry about these threads here. They look a little muted, like they're almost stripped. They're all that way. Don't feel like there's a need to replace it. So reverse operation, putting it on, shouldn't be too hard. I'm going to clean these threads up so it's a little easier going back in. Why fight it? Before you remove this upper hinge completely, before you take out that last bolt, it's a good idea to have a stud ready to roll. Reason being, that's going to index this plate. This plate is not held in by anything really other than a little hook. And if you don't put a stud in there, you risk the chance of when you take out that last bolt and take off the hinge, having to go tinkle, 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 tinkle all the way down the A-pillar. Not that I've ever done that and had to remove the dash pad to fish this back out, but I've heard other people have done that. Just a good idea. The bushing, instead of wearing through like many of them do, has broke off. And when it broke off, it worked its way down the pin, which means the pin was metal on metal, like you see going on with this hinge here. The hat of the bushing has broke free from the body of the bushing, then we're metal on metal. Once we're metal on metal, then our hole becomes oblong. So I thought, well, maybe it's not that bad. I'll put it together and see what it looks like. Well, here we go. You can see right there, that bushing is moving around in its now oblong hole. So a little bit of play goes a long way. So that bushing won't last very long in that oblong hole, and that slack there is not good. So we could weld the hole closed and machine another, drill another hole through it, but I'm not that precision with my drill press and my machining abilities, so I'm just going to get another good used hinge. So luckily, the folks at Cougar Parts Catalog had not only the right ear, in good shape, upper hinge, driver's side, the original color, and it's even in better condition than the one I took off my low mile car. Score. Plus, they can overnight it. Even though this original used hinge feels nice and tight, I'm going to put new bushings and pins in it. Might as well. I see cracks already beginning on this one, so it's only a matter of time before this hinge acts like my old one. Well, mission accomplished. My door opens and closes great. Still not perfect alignment, but close enough. Two things though. I really, in most cases, suggest that you rebuild the hinges on the car to maintain that factory alignment, if your alignment's okay to begin with. Two, it'll chip your paint, or there's a good chance you're going to chip your paint. So, this works on a car with not so nice a paint, and for somebody that has patience to align their door. All in all, it was a success, but it is time consuming no matter which way you do it. So thanks for tuning in to this video, and we'll be doing some more on this car real soon.